For years, MASH was celebrated as a perfect blend of humor, heartbreak, and humanity. Its cast seemed as close off-screen as their characters were on it, creating a sense of camaraderie that fans adored. But beneath the laughter, a subtler, more complicated story unfolded. Gary Burghoff, the actor who brought Radar O'Reilly to life, became the focus of tension among his colleagues. Known for his innocence and warmth, Burghoff's off-screen struggles revealed the pressures of sustaining a beloved character. The story behind Radar's rise, the friction with co-stars, and Burghoff's eventual departure shows a side of television history few fans ever imagined. From stage to screen, Gary Burghoff's connection to Radar began long before the television series. In 1970, filmmaker Robert Altman was adapting MASH for the big screen and cast the 26-year-old stage actor and jazz drummer in a small but memorable role. Burghoff, then a regional theatre and off-Broadway performer, brought a natural sweetness and vulnerability to the wide-eyed company clerk, Walter Radar O'Reilly. Altman recognized in him the innocence needed to anchor the film's chaotic satire. Though his screen time was limited, Burghoff's portrayal became a vital emotional thread, softening the sharp edges of Altman's cynical anti-war commentary. Returning to Radar 2 years later, CBS adapted MASH into a weekly series, and Burghoff was the only actor asked to reprise his role. Initially hesitant, he worried the show's raw tone would be lost in the constraints of television. But the opportunity to expand Radar beyond comic relief was irresistible. The series premiered in September 1972, during the height of the Vietnam War, and audiences immediately grasped its subtext. Amid the chaos, Radar's innocence stood out, embodying the hope and vulnerability of those living through war. Fans were captivated by his stammered "sir," shy demeanor, and the teddy bear that became his trademark. Inventing Radar. Much of what made Radar beloved came from Burghoff himself. His nervous tics, quiet empathy, and improvisational touches were instinctual rather than scripted. Viewers responded to the authenticity he brought to the role, yet success also brought pressure. While other actors evolved with their characters, Radar was expected to remain eternally boyish. Producers and audiences demanded consistency, and Burghoff found himself trapped. The public adored Radar, but the constant expectation to deliver sweetness created an invisible prison. His perfectionism and emotional sensitivity made it difficult to separate his own feelings from the role, and over time, the weight of maintaining innocence became suffocating. Strains behind the scenes. Long shooting days demanding scripts and a shift toward tragic realism intensified Burghoff's stress. Unlike his co-stars who could vent through humor, he absorbed the show's emotional weight. By the middle seasons, his fatigue and withdrawal were noticeable. What had been a joyful role became a heavy obligation. The innocence that defined Radar on screen began to consume Burghoff off-screen. His perfectionism, combined with limited character growth, created tension not just within himself, but among his colleagues. The cracks between Burghoff and co-stars, including Wayne Rogers, Alan Alda, and McLean Stevenson, began to emerge quietly, signaling that behind the beloved character, the actor was struggling. Friction with Wayne Rogers. Tension first surfaced between Burghoff and Wayne Rogers, who played trapper John McIntyre. Early chemistry gave way to frustration on long 14-hour shoots. Rogers was precise and efficient, while Burghoff, driven by emotional truth, often requested retakes to capture authenticity. At first, Rogers admired his dedication, but production delays caused strain. According to Raymond Straight's 1983 biography, Rogers eventually erupted over another scene revision, slamming a chair across the set. Though it missed Burghoff, the message was clear. The incident shook the cast, and while professionalism resumed the next day, the relationship never fully recovered. Rogers left after season 3, citing contracts, but tension with Burghoff was a private strain. The pressure of innocence. By the mid-1970s, Burghoff's withdrawal was evident. He would sit alone, sketching or playing drums instead of socializing. Radar's innocence, once a joyful trait, became a burden for the actor. The character's purity prevented growth and limited Burghoff's ability to explore new layers. 7 years of shooting blurred the line between art and personal life. His fatigue, coupled with a grueling production schedule, created a sense of isolation. What audiences saw as charm and warmth concealed exhaustion and emotional strain. Burghoff was caught between public expectation and personal limits, highlighting the invisible toll of sustaining a beloved character. The farewell that almost failed. By 1979, Burghoff decided to leave the show. The demands of fame, exhaustion, and marital strain prompted his departure. Writers crafted a two-part farewell in Season 8, where Radar would return to Iowa after his uncle's death. Director Charles S. Dubin envisioned a restrained exit, but Burghoff initially pushed for a dramatic, tearful scene. The result was overdone, and Burghoff begged to reshoot. Dubin agreed under one condition: no tears. The understated exit, Radar quietly walking away as helicopters arrived, became one of the series' most haunting moments, blending subtlety with emotional resonance. Burghoff's perfectionism nearly derailed it, but ultimately it preserved Radar's integrity. Rumors and misunderstandings. When the episode aired, tabloids speculated about cast tensions. Headlines labelled Burghoff moody, arrogant, or difficult. Few considered the deeper truth: burnout and the pressure of embodying purity for nearly a decade. The MASH schedule consumed 10 months a year, leaving little time for family or personal life. Burghoff's withdrawal off-screen was misinterpreted, yet colleagues recognised his struggles. Jaime Farr, who played Corporal Klinger, acknowledged that Burghoff's choice was necessary for his well-being. Loretta Sweet remembered the joys of working with him, but noted his tendency to retreat. The alleged animosity was largely rumour. The reality was exhaustion and a desire for balance. Life after MASH. After leaving MASH, Burghoff largely avoided Hollywood. He took occasional guest roles, a spin-off pilot in 1984, regional theatre and voice work, but resisted fame. Settling into California, he embraced a quieter life as a father, grandfather, and humanitarian. In 2018, he appeared in a YouTube video supporting wildfire victims, helping raise over $16,000 via GoFundMe. Through painting, music, and mentoring, Burghoff channeled his creativity into fulfilling pursuits. His retreat from Hollywood was not rejection, but preservation of family, personal sanity, and the integrity of Radar. His story highlights the sacrifices behind sustaining an iconic role. Legacy and reflection. Over decades, colleagues passed on, yet fans continued to celebrate Burghoff's contribution. MASH reruns reminded audiences that goodness can endure amid chaos. Burghoff's struggles off-screen underscore the emotional cost of iconic performances. Rumors of difficulty fade in the face of decades of admiration. By leaving at the right time, he preserved Radar's innocence and his own humanity. Burghoff himself reflected on the contradictions that defined him. The same sensitivity that fueled artistry also made fame challenging. His story is a quiet lesson in balance, self-respect, and the limits of public expectation. The true gift of Radar O'Reilly, remains a symbol of compassion in a chaotic world. Burghoff's embodiment of that character, shaped by instinct, empathy, and artistic integrity, created a lasting legacy. Behind the rumors and whispers of feuds was a man striving to remain true to himself. Burghoff's departure ensured Radar never grew bitter, allowing audiences to remember the character as eternally kind. The actor's choice was not just an exit, but a gift to himself, to the show, and to viewers who continue to find hope and warmth in the gentle, wide-eyed Clark who could hear helicopters before anyone else. A human story. The story of Gary Burghoff is more than behind-the-scenes drama. It is about the weight of expectation, the cost of perfectionism, and the struggle to maintain authenticity under pressure. Burghoff was misunderstood at times, even resented, but his legacy is defined by empathy and quiet strength. He didn't seek fame, he pursued truth. Radar remains timeless because Burghoff respected the character's essence. The pressures of television, the rumors and the misunderstandings all underscore a fundamental truth. Art demands more than people often see. In embracing honesty over applause, Burghoff left a gift that endures far beyond the screen.